Hey, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another inside edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast with Kip Thompson. Hope everyone's had a great week. A lot of things going on around the country this weekend. Racing going on down south with Speed Weeks. We've got a lot of people at Volusia. We've got some of our race fans and race car drivers down at East Bay. We've got Dalton Wilson in Florida. We've got Daniel Adam in Florida. We've got Austin Holcomb. Just a lot of guys who are in the area of the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and we wish you guys the best of luck. Tonight, before we begin the show, we want to thank our show sponsors, Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, Tony and Bobby Jackson. They'll come to your event with a group of 30 people or more. They've got a great menu, and anytime you're at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, their food truck is up on the main concourse area. Also, out of Supply, North Carolina, we want to thank Barrier Fencing Supply, who is a wholesaler and distributor in the fencing business. Those guys do a phenomenal job, huge bulk price packages on aluminum fencing, and they're working on a real big deal right now to bring vinyl fencing to the forefront. And as that becomes available, we will let you know about that. All right, tonight's special guest, no stranger to all of the race fans around the Fayetteville Motor Speedway and in the eastern part of North Carolina, a longtime friend of mine, Joseph Swann, a.k.a. Swanny Sasquatch, out of Eastover, right off of Dunn Street down there. Hey, man, welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you on tonight.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to be here. Been looking forward to it. It's, you get like a really nice program here, looks like. And from day one, looks like you've grown and had a lot of good shows. So pretty excited to be on.
Well, I know that, before we get really into what you do from the racing aspect of your everyday life, you've got your own business there. You've got Gen 3 Performance Imaging. We'll talk about that a little bit and what you guys offer. Tonight's headwear is being provided by Gen 3 Imaging, courtesy of Swanny, my man Sasquatch. So I got a fresh Pacific 404M lid right there out of his shop. Let's talk about, what you guys do there at Gen 3. I mean, you guys do a little bit of everything. You guys do wrapping of vehicles, businesses, you outfit race teams and all kinds of stuff. So let's talk about that business.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. We do some screen printing here and some embroidery. You can see the two machines back there. They're a little noisy, so I shut them off for right now. Just purchased a wrap machine and do decals for businesses, commercial signs, and stuff like that. It's really taken off. I took this on, and I quit my day job, and jumped out here and started doing it on my own, and full time, and see where we go from there, and hopefully we can grow. And took a little bit of a leap and purchased some equipment, and so we'll get going.
Well, I've heard it said before, some of the biggest regrets people have are those risks that you don't take. And I know kind of what you're into there and what you guys do a phenomenal job. The T-shirts that I've got here that we sell at the racetrack, came out of your shop, and you just did a phenomenal job with those. But away from the business side of your everyday life with your business and everything, I know that you don't drive a race car, but you are definitely a racer and a huge race fan. I know I've seen you do multiple things, wear multiple hats at a racetrack, from being a track photographer, from being a flagman. I've even seen you in the outside pits, turning wrenches and being part of the crew. So let's talk about what racing means to you and kind of how you all got started in everything. Because like I said, you dabble in a little bit of this, a little bit of that, from photography to flagging. Let's talk about your love of racing.
I've been in it since day one. I think Mom tells me all the time that, I was at the racetrack probably within a week or two of being born. We were out there when Dad was crewing for Mr. Edwards, and the Edwards family is real big in my heart. I grew up around them. Crystal, she's been there. She's watched me grow up. We've remained close, and all the Edwards family. That's kind of where I got my start. Just being involved in it, just out there in the yard on wash day, pushing tires around, just trying to help out where I could. And then eventually it transformed into, went back to being mainly a fan. And then it really did. And then I started helping John Marshall and Brandon Marshall and the Marshalls, and, kind of started working on some of the crew stuff and getting involved with that. And then Jim and Dina took over Fayetteville. 2015, I believe, is when they got it. And they were a real big part of me, jumping in and being as far as the officiating. And really, year one at Fayetteville, I was nothing but I started dabbling some of the PR and marketing stuff and doing some of the graphics stuff there the first year. And I was nothing but a turn one worker. So I did nothing but let people in and out of the small gate and across the racetrack and everything. So that's where it started. And then eventually it transformed. And I called Jim and I said, look, back up. So then later that year, 2015, I went to Rockfish and shot my very first race, which was the Winter Classic. I took Mom's camera that she had bought and never took it out. And I took it to Rockfish and said, you know what, I'm going to go shoot and try it. And then from there, then 2016 rolled around and I called Jim and said, man, I really want to give this photography thing a go. And then, we would toss around some names and everything. And, he told me that, you need to don't do photography. Like, don't name it photography because then you're limited to just photography. You can't do it doesn't allow you to do anything else. So we come up with performance imaging, and that's kind of where the name come from.
Well, I know that I've seen you at multiple racetracks, and man, I got to hand it to you. Somebody who does, it is images of the racetrack that goes with Gen 3 imaging, but it is photography. And man, I've countless times I've seen you in some of the most awkward positions, wedging yourself between a fence and a wall to get that car coming off the corner to give that perfect shot. Man, I've seen some great shots. Any picture, any moment, any racetrack, man, that stands out to you that you were like covering or shooting pictures that was really special to you?
To be honest with you, there's two or three that really stand out the most. One is which actually, we went and shot at Williams Grove. I went and shot the sprint cars at Williams Grove, and that not everybody thought, sprint cars is, but that was a big deal. Williams Grove is like in the top five, if not one of the top three racetracks for sprint car racers. I think it's more important to Eldora, more important than Eldora to some of them, because you really get that feel of the PA posse against the Outlaws. So it was kind of big to shoot there. And, my brother's got one of Kyle Larson where I shot there, and it's hanging in his office in there. And, every time I walk in there, I'm thinking, that was it. That was at the top of my game. And it was just cool to shoot there. I just enjoy going to the historic racetracks. And there's not really a particular event that I would say, yeah, that's what I enjoyed shooting. I enjoy shooting late models, just the attitude of the cars. And what helps me the most is I kind of been around it long enough that I kind of can see the attitude of the car. So I can shoot those angles and know what the car is going to do. And a lot of guys are like, here recently, and it's kind of brought back the itch to go back and shoot next year, which I'm going to do more of. And they're like, man, we really miss you shooting or whatever, because we could sit there on Sunday and bench race and talk about what the car was doing over here, because you would go shoot so many different angles. You would shoot the back, you'd shoot the front, you'd shoot the side, and they said we enjoyed looking at it. We could go back and make notes off of it if the car was too much into the racetrack or not enough in the racetrack or whatever. And, that was important to me. So that's kind of got my itch to go back and shoot next year, or this year. So we're going to fit that in where I can.
Well, when you talk about being able to see, or how you like the attitude of a late model, a lot of people don't understand, those cars, how they get around is the way those cars are set up, the way they flex and the way they rotate. You can almost kind of tell a story, like what you're saying, in a photo on how a car is, the attitude of that car coming off of a corner. Yeah.
It's interesting to me, knowing kind of like how they work, and not all the way I don't understand how they all the way work, but I can shoot stuff and I'm like, it could be important. The guy was shoving the nose, or this guy. I always tried to shoot stuff action wise. The single car stuff is all right, but the more action you can get to two or three cars at a time is really what I like to do, because that's you're clicking at a split second to capture three guys that's doing three different things. And it's just, it's a love for it that I have. And I never thought a day in my life that I would pick up a camera and shoot a race car, but I did.
Well, there's definitely an art to it, because you're bringing that picture, like I said, to life, but there's an art to being able to, how to manipulate that button on that camera, like you say, in a split second, man, because it is. I mean, it is high pace. It is very fast. And, I always love going back and look at those, the shots of things that you've done in the past. You've done a phenomenal job with that. But, we've talked about your business. We've talked about your love of racing and how the photography end of it. But I've seen you move along a little bit, as we all already talked about, having an opportunity to turn wrenches with Brandon and John Marshall. Some of the other guys, I know you work with AJ Ballinger some, and just been around the racetrack, man, just because when you're not working, you're like me. This is what we love to do. We love the sport and we love to be around it. So as you've progressed with being around the racetrack, and before we go too far, I do want to give a little shout out here real quick. You made mention early on in the show that, within a couple of weeks, couple of days of when you were born, your mom had you at the racetrack. Your mom is a huge part of the good old days of dirt racing, the Hall of Fame thing that they do. And I went to that last year for the first time. Man, what a phenomenal deal that is. And I've already seen they're moving and changing locations, going to go over to Paradise Acres this year. So maybe a little bit different facility, but, with the car shows and, seeing the old guys back when we were youngsters at the racetrack watching them, they'd be duking it out on the front straightaway and go back to a day that remembers the good old days of dirt racing. And seeing arm in arm with tears rolling down their face and just talking about the memories, it's a special deal. And that's a pretty big deal for your mom, isn't it?
Yeah, she enjoys that. She loves the, what it's called, the good old days of dirt. She loved it. She grew up in it. And it's cool to go and see everybody. A lot of them I don't know, and some of them I called it the end of their career. It's good to meet them and put names with faces, and Keith Smith's there with his photos. And, you can say, oh, this was this car that I drove in the 70s or, whatever, my uncle raced, my granddad raced. And, it's been in my family forever.
Well, I know that your mom, man, that is a real, real big deal for her, and she puts her heart and soul into it. Her with the Rooster, Robert Kitchens, those guys do a phenomenal job in orchestrating that, promoting it, and I know that they're already getting geared up and looking for this year's event. So as we move on along and talking about your involvement with racing, gone from the business side to photography and working on race cars with various different people. You've also spent some time in the flag stand. So that's another hat that you have worn and a job that you've taken on. Actually, you did some this year at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. I know you do some around some of the go-kart tracks. And that's got to be a pretty tough job because, the race is in your hand next to the race director. And I remember this year, I saw you duck. You remember when the guy, it was in one of the legend features at the National.
Yeah,
I thought
one of the neighbors.
Yeah, I thought somebody's going to go up and slap Swanee a high five up in the flag tower there. So talk about that. I mean, that's got to be a pretty fun. It's intense, but I know it's got to be fun too.
It is. It's fun. It's also got an art to it. There's some people to go there and just kind of throw the flags around and everything. But man, it's fun to get up there and twirl the flag. Like the Dave Varney with the big block modifieds, he's always been somebody that I like to watch. And I'll catch myself when I'm at one of his races watching him more than I watch the race cars, man. He'll get up there and flip the flags around. And I'll try to do that. I'm fairly decent at that, but I enjoy the flagging. It's kind of like I'm involved. I'm at the point now where if I'm not involved at the racetrack in some degree, it's not near as fun, Yeah. So it's nice to get out there and hang out with everybody and eat a chicken wing here and there. But it's different whenever you're involved. You know what's going on. You got the headset. You're involved, and you know what's going on. But the flagging stuff, the race, the legend car stuff was very similar to what I'm used to race directing, because the flagman has a lot of responsibility taken off of him. Okay, so and at the go-kart track, and it took me in a couple of events to adjust to it, but the go-kart track, the flagman is still the man. He's still the head honcho. I mean, you got a race director, but you're the only one that's controlling the lights and controlling the flags and everything. They have no race receivers, none of that stuff. So there's nobody talking to them. So it's kind of an adjustment. Whenever I'm used to telling the flagman what to do or to make the call, which in that the flagman is the call. So if I blow a caution, it's me. So that took some adjustment. And, Brian Ivy's over there, and him and Daryl Wheeler, they do a great job over there at Triple T. And they got me going to Tri-County and Kinley this year. So they've added a couple dates. So I've added some flag dates and everything. And I'm penciling in dates here and there to try to figure out my photography schedule, my flag schedule, and, of course, my commitment to the Steel Block Bandits.
Well, Ben, you got a whole lot going on, and I know that it's always a delight to be around you at the racetrack. And, hey, anytime that you're at the racetrack, I always feel a part of choking down one of those chicken wings and some of that Kipper's corn. You're always invited.
My God, and a red stripe.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, folks, what we're going to do, we'll take a quick break, and we're going to hear from our sponsors real quick. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the new position that Joseph Swann took last year with the Steel Block Bandits and talk about building going into 2023. We'll be right back after words from our messages or words from our sponsors right here on the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Barrier Fencing Supply is a fencing wholesaler and distributor based out of Supply, North Carolina. Whether you need fencing, fencing products, fencing accessories, or various other construction materials related to your fencing needs, we have the products you are looking for at today's most competitive prices around. Ask us today about bulk pricing packages. Call 910-269-8661. Contact us by email at sales@barrierfencingproducts.com. Barrier Fencing Supply, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Tonight's show is being brought to you in part by Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. We cater any event, big or small, groups of 30 people or more, weddings, holiday events, or festivals. Call us today, 910-237-4565. Contact us by email at jackson.bobby@yahoo.com. Follow us on Facebook at Raging Rooster Catering. We invite you to come get you some. Raging Rooster Catering, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. All right, race fans, welcome back to another Inside Edition, Part 2 of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast with our good friend Joseph Swann, a.k.a. Swanny. We've talked about several different things in his racing career, but a huge step he took in 2022. He took on the role of race director for the Steel Block Bandits late model challenge. And man, I have to tell you, I was actually in the booth with you. I think the first race you did at Halifax last year, I was announcing for the Punisher Super Street Series, and you were over there calling qualifying and getting everything done. And I thought, I'm proud of my man here, man. My buddy has stepped in here. I knew you were a little bit nervous yet because I know that there was actually another couple of races before you actually did your first race. You were in the booth with me. Might have been at Lakeview, might have been at County Line somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but you were trying to get your feet wet. And, man, you've done a phenomenal job with the Steel Block Bandits. And let's talk about what that position has opened up and, maybe like, just another dream come true of something else you want to do at a racetrack.
Yeah, it's definitely another cap. And I like building a resume to it. And it kind of – to me, it's really impressive to see where I went from just a fan to where I'm at now. And, we're at a small scale, but, our series does great things. And we're trying to show everybody that, we can put on big races at the late model level. And it's not limited late models. We're late models. We're just as much, as the super guys are. We put on just as good as shows, if not better. But the race straightness stuff has been a change. I'm not one to take authority on a lot of things or, stuff like that. But, it's an adjustment. A lot of guys, I asked a couple of guys for some feedback on it, and they said, they really appreciate that I don't like get all riled up and yell at them on the receiver and talk junk. Sometimes you got to talk junk to them in a nice, respectful way and pump them up. And sometimes you got to, say good job. If somebody does something good, it's part of coaching and, it's fun.
Well, I've seen you kind of like from the ground level with that. And continuing to grow, and man, you're just going to get better and better the more you do it. And talking about the Steel Block Bandit late model challenge that you guys do, man. There's an awesome 2023 season coming up. It's going to kick off March the 17th and 18th, Halifax County Raceway, the second annual Mark Batten Memorial. I know you got to be excited about that. And hey, I'm already excited. Now, I don't want to go ahead and fast forward through 2023, but I'm super excited to already know that the Cash Money 100 will be back at its home racetrack where the race originated from, back inside the Carolina Bull Ring at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. I can't wait to have you guys back.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that one. That one's special. That one's one that's been with us, all the way back through Fayetteville. It's been with us every year, and it's grown every year. We've been to different places, and being back home last year was just, it had a special feel to it. The whole Wilkesboro thing kind of killed the momentum of the race as far as PR wise. I felt like, some guys don't pay attention to social media and websites and everything like some of us. Some of us knew right quick that, hey, it went from Wilkesboro, we're going to Fayetteville. Well, some guys probably didn't get the memo. All they seen was, hey, the Cash Money's canceled, and then they rescheduled for something else. So that's part of the reason I think we were kind of off on car count. We had great cars, dude. I mean, we went back and watched that race, and man, the hair on my arm still stands up watching Dalton Wilson up top on the wall and him just duking it out, man. It's really good to just to see that race, man. We played it at the trade show at the Cars trade show, and everybody stopped and watched it, and it was just impressive.
Well, not only did you guys put on a phenomenal show there, man, the place was packed. The anticipation and the excitement of knowing the Cash Money 100 was back at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, man, the stands, the grandstands throughout the pit area, it was like electric. The energy was electric the whole entire night, and 100 laps inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway. And, man, 80 laps into the race, it's still anybody's race. This was a phenomenal show, and we're just looking forward to having you guys back again, and hopefully maybe if all goes well, that the Cash Money 100 will never leave the Fayetteville Motor Speedway again. So let's talk about some of the other big events you've got. So we know we got the Mark Batten Memorial second annual deal coming up, March 17th, 18th at the Little Red Clay Bull Ring in Halifax County Raceway, or Halifax County Motor Speedway. What else? I know you guys got a full schedule. Let's talk about some of the places you guys are going this year.
Yep. So we, of course, we go to Halifax for the Mark Batten Memorial on the 18th of March, and then we roll into the Last Great Coliseum. So we go from one of the smallest tracks on the schedule to one of the biggest for the Bristol, the showcase up there. That's going to be really exciting. It's a huge deal. I'm looking forward to that. It's a once in a lifetime deal to see our guys. And it's only us in the American All-Stars. So that's really big. There's no 6, 7, 8 classes for somebody to get, strung out on or anything. It's just us in the American All-Stars. And we're going to go up there and put on a show. And it's a big deal. It's a big marketing deal. And it's a big, a big check mark on all of our guys' resumes. Hey, I went and raced at Bristol. So then we head back to Sumter. Sumter's back on the schedule for a third year, I believe. Love going down there. Sissy does a great job. They got new lights, man, and it looks fantastic down there. Then head off to Tennessee for the first time, Smoky Mountain, or the second time for the Smoky Mountain, the new and improved Smoky Mountain Speedway. If you've never been there, that's a really good racetrack. Roger Sellers and them are fixing it. They've cut it down, I think, 3/8 or 4/10 or something like that. I have to go back and look at that. And then up to Natural Bridge in May to kick off May. So we race 3 times in April, and then go to Natural Bridge in May on the 20th for the Tommy Bear Memorial. So that's Tyler Bear's grandpa, Booper's dad, for $8,800 to win a big show. So we go for 5 at Smoky, 8,800 at Natural Bridge. And then we go up to Dixieland. Now I don't know if anybody's ever been to Dixieland or may not been to Dixieland, but that is a hidden gem up there in Elizabeth City. Have you ever been to Elizabeth City?
I've never been to Dixieland Speedway, but that is on the bucket list for 2023 this year.
Dude, it's a phenomenal. It's old school. It's got an old school feel, but the fans up there are so appreciative, man. They say thank you for coming. They're all about our guys. The autograph sessions are jam packed. We have to cut off the autograph sessions at Dixieland because they love our guys. They're really appreciative. The great, just everything up there is good. I mean, they'll come down on the straightaway at the end of the night after interviews, and they'll talk and mingle with the drivers, the top 3 normally. So that's a really good one. So that's paired up with Virginia Motor Speedway this year, Jamaica. That's a big date. That's a big anchor date. Everybody likes that place. It's a very nice facility. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's up there, kind of tucked off the peninsula of Virginia. It's kind of over there. It's a little bit of a drive across there. But
right now, talking about Virginia Motor Speedway, Jamaica me want to go.
Yeah, you're making me crazy. I think they had a race up there was You're Making Me Crazy or something like that. We might have to pick that name up. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And then we go to Beckley for the first time. For the first time of the year. We go twice this year. The Beckley, twice, whatever. That's a really nice track. Again, another great staff up there. They were real thankful. We did a kids we were there Halloween weekend last year, and did like a kids trick or treat, man, and it was phenomenal. They just really did a great job of that. And then that race is paired up with Whitfield, Virginia, the big half mile up in the hills of Virginia. That's a great track if you've never been to it. Then we go south and make a south swing, Livonia and Cherokee. That's a 4K, 5K weekend there, about an hour and a half apart. That's a good weekend to go. Can't stay halfway of one and drive to Livonia and then stay and then drive to Cherokee and home. So that's a good swing. Then another one I'm excited about is historic Hagerstown up in Maryland. That's a historic track. I remember it being on the Lucas schedule for years and years, and it's just it's a big racetrack. But the main thing is our series is going there, and it's a historic place. It's an anchor date, that was really important to get.
Well, when you talk about, we'll back up here just a little bit. When you talk about a hidden gem in the eastern part of North Carolina, Dixieland Speedway, to the viewers who are watching the show, I'm going to give out another little plug for another little hidden gem in my book. If you've never been there before, it's a racetrack that you're going to, Sumter Motor Speedway. That place that you're talking about with the new lights and everything, when you pull up to that place, it looks like a place like where you would see a country music video footage shot at an old-timey and man, what a racing surface. It's a little flatter all the way around, but man, it's a great place to go watch a race. And I know that I was there last year when you guys were there, and it is, I don't know that I want to get real tight with everybody up in that tower because it's kind of small. I know it's close quarters.
Yeah, but they're fixing it up down there, man. It's supposed to, with the lights and everything, and they're going to spruce the place up, and it's going to be a good thing down there. And I told somebody last year that Sumter had that Friday night football feeling. It had a younger crowd than normal. The crowd was kind of my age, and I'm no spring. I'm 30. We 30 next week, so I'm talking about a younger crowd. But they were in there. They were walking in there with big Yeti coolers, and they were ready, and they had all their trucks, and they were hanging out tailgating. But the crowd was real electric. I mean, even they got an enduro class or a Crown Vic class or something like that, and they just they're all about their racing down there, and it was great to see fans still that energetic about racing. And like I said, it had a Friday night football feel.
Yeah, and if anybody's never seen what you're talking about, a Crown Vic class, that is definitely a highlight of any race night at Sumter Motor Speedway. The first time I saw that, I was like, man, what in the world is this? I mean, it was probably one of the best races, multiple lead changes, beating and banging. But it is, I agree with you. I remember seeing the people in the pit area, in the outside pit area. It is a younger crowd, but man, it is that you can tell, like you said, it's almost like a Friday night football game. It's this is what we do on Friday nights. This is what we do on Saturday nights at Sumter. And it is a very, very cool place. And you guys did put on a great show when I was there. And a couple of other things that I love about what the Steel Block Bandits do. I love, the autograph sessions are absolutely phenomenal. That is such a big deal. I've seen it at County Line. I've seen it when you guys were in Gaffney at Cherokee. I mean, the people just mob to you guys because a lot of people don't do that, because I think it's a real neat deal for you guys to do that. Number one, because a lot of fans can sit inside a bleacher area and they know who that is in the number 15 or the 1 or whatever, or they know who there's the number 3. But being able to put a face in that driver's uniform outside of that car, it's a different feeling, man, for the fans. And that just really, really goes over well. I love the way you guys do that. And then when you do the driver introductions, the old school way of cocking them sideways, down the straightaway, by the wall, I've seen that those are some of the photos, some Gen 3 photos that I've seen that are really super cool.
Yeah. That's one of our deals. We did it the first time. I think Jim told me to do it at Gaffney when we did the cash money there. That was the very first time we did it. And Dwayne Goldwins, he's been around for a long time announcing at Cherokee or whatever. And I think he either commented on the picture or messaged Jim the next day, and he was like, dude, I hadn't seen that since the 90s. And ever since then, we've adopted it, and it's a part of our program. You know, we don't do the 4 wide. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm not a fan of it. Every once in a while, it's okay. But we do the missing man with our flag. Well, it's not necessarily missing man. It's missing man, and we put a car out front with the American flag, and we talk about Race for Heroes. That's our presenting sponsor. So that's a big deal. You know, we tribute to all the veterans and everything. You know, Jim's a veteran himself, and you know he's series director, owner, and everything. So it's something we do. We're from a military town. That's where we're based out of, in Fayetteville. Fort Bragg is 20 minutes from here, from my seat. You know, whenever they get the bombing off over there, it rattles the shop, and you know, that's why when we were at the racetrack, he called it Boom City. That's what it is. That's home.
You know, it's a neat place, and I've often wondered. I know that you've got Jim Long, who is the series director. You've got your announcer that Eddie Pollard, who you kind of share some of the duties, I guess, with the marketing and different posting on Facebook and all. But which one of you guys gets to come up with like the names of races? Because I've thought, what a cool name for 2022, Deuces Wild. That was the coolest theme that I've ever heard. Who came up with that?
Well, that was Jim. He gets to driving. Used to, Miss Dina would pick on him and talk junk about him getting on his lawnmower at Fayetteville cutting the grass, because every time he'd get on the racetrack or get on the lawnmower cutting the grass, he'd come up with some crazy idea. One, you know, just for example, one time he got on the lawnmower, and that's whenever he decided he was going to take the trees out from the back of the racetrack. You know, when they cleared out all the trees and everything, that was a lawnmower deal. It's just on and on and on. And, you know, she always picked on him about that. Don't get on your lawnmower. She was going to hide the keys or whatever. Well, this was another one of them situations. I don't know if he was on his lawnmower at home or driving down the road or whatever, and he'd come up with the Deuces Wild tour. You know, so, you know, he comes up with a lot of catchy things, and it's like this year was the Bad Company tour, you know, so we're going to do the Bad Company tour this year. But a lot of he's good at that stuff, so he just comes off the hip, and sometimes it sticks with him and sometimes it don't, and if it don't, halfway through the year we got to back up and punt up with something else. So, but that was a pretty cool. I enjoyed the Deuces Wild tour. It just rolled like it was like, hell yeah, we're gonna go see the Deuces Wild tour, you know what I'm saying? So the Bad Company tour will be good too.
Oh, it will be. But the Deuces Wild deal, man, that was just for 2022, man. I just thought that was a phenomenal slogan for the series. And, you know, just want to thank you, man, for taking time to be on the show. And I want to wish you the best of luck in 2023 with everything that you might have going on. But, man, in that race directing position you're in, man, just keep digging, keep doing what you're doing, keep learning, keep growing. Don't become complacent. And you're doing a phenomenal job. And all of us guys who still hang out in the pits now see you up top and doing this and doing that, man. We say congratulations and we wish you all the best. Yeah,
man. Hopefully get out to Fayetteville some. You know, I try to help them guys out when I can, and my phone call is always open for them. So it's home. That's home. You know, if I can be a hand to them, I will. You know, I enjoy going out there, and like I said, that's where I cut my teeth. That's where I grew up in the pits, man. So hopefully we'll see you around. I'll hopefully come shoot some this year. So,
well, come on down. You're always welcome. Red stripes, wings, corn. We'll have something. We'll have something together for sure. Okay?
All right, man.
All right, folks. This is Kip Thompson, voice of Victory Lane. We're going to close it down. Tonight's special guest, Joseph Swann, who has worn many hats in the racing industry, still does it today. Got a lot of stuff going on, race directing for the Steel Block Bandits, and got a full schedule coming up for 2023. So this guy's going to be really, really busy. We want to thank tonight's sponsors, Raging Rooster Catering out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, Tony and Bobby Jackson. They'll come to your event with 30 people or more and do a phenomenal job for you with their catering business, a wide array of a menu, and you can look them up on their Facebook page, Raging Rooster Catering. You'll find their telephone number and a contact through email. And be sure to check them out on the main concourse area at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway in the Raging Rooster Catering food truck up top right beside the press box. And be sure that you tell them that the Voice of Victory Lane podcast sent you their way. Also, we want to say a big, huge thank you to Barrier Fence Supply out of Supply, North Carolina, a big, huge aluminum fence wholesaler and distributor. They're also working on big deals right now for vinyl fencing. Call them today for the best prices around. They are proud supporters of our podcast, and we appreciate them very much. Be sure to go look at our page on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. Visit us on Facebook at the Voice of Victory Lane, and like and share this video so people can see what's going on around the Fayetteville Motor Speedway and other areas and local people just like Joseph Swann. Again, we thank you all for watching tonight, and we will see you at a racetrack somewhere very soon in 2023. Good night, everybody.